You just made me feel good. You told me that uh, even though we're generations apart, I've been practicing probably 3 times as long as you have, that you rely on paper while I'm relying on the digital stuff. So that made me feel good. There's a lot of attorneys in our office, young attorneys in our office that are relying on paper. They've got to see it and stuff. And I guess that tells us that it's always going to be a choice. Not everybody's going to go to one or the other now.
For me, whether it's a case or pleadings, I like to have a physical copy because I read it and I highlight it. In paper, I like to be able to feel it and just, I don't know, it's easier for me. Digitally, I feel like you have to go back and you can't just, I don't know, it's just easier.
Do you feel that's true for going to court, that you prefer paper rather than digital?
I think when I have it prepped for my cases, since I read the pleadings ahead of time on paper, I take the paper to court, so I already have it set in line. But digital is so much more convenient because sometimes you have RFOs that are like this big,
yeah,
and you have to trot along the little cart. So I think it just depends. Sometimes the digital does come in handy for court.
What year did you start?
2018.
Okay. So what you should know, I wanted to check that. I thought it was about that time period. Let's go back 10 years ago or maybe 15 years ago. We'd go into court with boxes, because you just never knew when the opposing counsel was going to bring up a fact, and you had to fact check it with a piece of paper. And most of the time, those boxes would just sit there. I got into the habit of getting into the digital stuff as soon as it became available. I rarely bring paper to court with me, and even in trials now, because you rely on your trial books, you don't really need to go back and look at it. And, if you're really good, you get a printer with you. And just in case, if you have it all downloaded on your printer. But I tell you that there's a lot of attorneys in this office that still prefer the paper.
I mean, I think Anthony's with you, another attorney. He loves to have his Dropbox link, and he just pulls everything up from there. But I'm old-fashioned. I like the paper.
there's one risk. There's a couple of risks. One of them is the internet working? If you're relying on downloading stuff while you're sitting there in court, that could be a problem. Been there, done that. The other problem is what happens if the court doesn't have something to allow you to plug your computer in and you're there all day. I've been in a panic mode a couple of times where my battery's getting to zero and I forgot to bring a plug, or there's no outlet available, and it's like, oh my God,
you're scrambling.
Yeah, so there is a downside to it, but it seems that the courts are getting a little bit better, in providing things for us. The Central Court still has a long way to go, but I noticed that they've upgraded the chairs in there, and they've got some screens on the walls, so hopefully they're going to get it set up so that we're a modern courtroom, and we have the ability of plugging in our devices. Yeah. So, I actually did a full hearing with nothing but my iPad once, not too long ago, and I didn't feel like it was out of place at all. I was there. I don't know what the judge was thinking. He might have thought that I came in unprepared,